Streaming live on WFLA Now.
More than 100 volunteers in Tampa Bay participating in a water rescue exercise, part of Tampa International Airport conducting an emergency response to be prepared in the readiness of an event for an actual mass casualty incident. We're talking about it here live on WFLA Now with a signal here from Eagle 8 HD for those of you joining us on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and WFLA's Facebook page. Hello there to you, JB Buno, Amanda Holly, as well as Paul Lamison joining us from Eagle 8 HD. Hey there, Paul. How are you?
Hey, JB. Good afternoon or good morning still to you. Hey, we're over the Gandy area. We are just near MacDill Air Force Base, just south of the Gandy Bridge. What you're looking at is this is the initial stages of a mock drill. This drill is going to kind of replicate the miracle on the Hudson where a plane went into the water. They're doing this for training purposes. This, again, if you just tune in, this is training only. They're putting people in the water now to simulate a plane down into the water. We have different agencies out here. We have the sheriff, we have the police, we have the Coast Guard, we have Tampa Fire Rescue. We have a bunch of different units, and this is where they're staging from. This barge out here just south of the Gandy Bridge. And how it happens is they're putting radio calls out and different people are responding to them. You're looking at a barge out in the middle of the Tampa Bay, right off the Gandy Bridge, and you can see if I pull out wide, you'll see different boats around, different things are happening as we speak. We're trying to listen to the radio. We have a Tampa Police helicopter up over as well. There's different boats out here. Each one has different duties during this mock drill where they rescue. Again, there are different agencies out here in the water. There's the Hillsborough County Sheriff. They have their boat out. Tampa Fire Rescue out as well. The Coast Guard. Tampa Police is out as well. There's a Coast Guard boat out there, the Patriot. They're out doing some things for this mock drill. Again, we've seen different people pulled out of the water, so the drill has started. It's really tough to figure out and see how it's going because you can't put a plane in the water and do it that way, but they're trying to replicate this so it's some type of a water rescue because we are right in the flight path of one of the runways right now, so this could actually happen because the planes are flying over, and the next plane we see, I'll go up and show you, but what they're doing is trying to train to figure out how to do all of this once these events happen, because you have to train because it has to become second nature to you. Right here, there's another boat, there's a marine safety boat, and you see people in the water right here. So they'll keep doing that, and eventually a boat will come pull them out, but this is just in the initial stages of starting. You see a swimmer in the water. I can push in a little bit and show you the people in the water, and eventually they'll be rescued as well. But they're taking every precaution. They're in life jackets, they're near boats. This is well controlled, well watched by all the superior officers and people to see how the people actually react. Here are the boats. There's a bunch of boats out here, and there are more on the way. The call must have just came through. You see the boats racing to the scene, and we're going to watch some of this unfold right now. That's one of the Marine Patrol boats coming in. There's Tampa Fire Rescue, or Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. They're moving into the area. They started this drill off with smoke in the water to just alert everybody where it was happening. Now boats are coming here, and just like anything, they're not sure where the people are. They're coming, they're responding to an area, so they have to then figure out where the things are happening. So that's what they're doing now. They're on the way, they're looking, they're checking out the scene, and we can push in and watch as they come up on the people. This boat is coming up towards where the people are now. And again, this is a drill. For those of you tuning in on Facebook, this is a drill. We are letting you know all throughout this is not an actual emergency. This is a drill. So they're training. This is a good way to prepare because when it comes down to it, there are little things you might need to know, might need to figure out. and this is really going to help them. Hey, JB, I'm going to throw it back to you to see if you have anything more to add, because, again, this is starting, and we can watch this, and you can chime in, and we can talk as this happens. But, again, this is a drill, and I'll throw it back to you, JB.
Yeah, thank you there, Paul. Yeah, JB Buno here with you live with Amanda Holly here in the Stream Center back in Tampa. Of course, Paul Lamison, our chief photographer with WFLA's Eagle 8 HD above Tampa Bay. Amanda, quite a scene that we're having here. I know we're having a chat here with Paul while he's up in Eagle 8 HD as we're watching this scene unfold right here in Tampa Bay.
So again, here comes boats up. There are people in the water right here. See, they're waving for help. These boaters, they were able to pull them ashore. And again, this is how this would happen in a normal event. You're not really designed to know which boat is going to pull you out of the water, but here they go up to the people that are in the water, helping them out of the water. They're trying to recreate this as an emergency, as a water rescue type event. They do have their two ways. They are talking. There is scanner traffic reporting what's going on. And so these people are out of the water. Here's another boat. So this is happening now. This is to replicate what they put in their press release, is to replicate the miracle on the Hudson, where a plane landed in the water, where there are people that need pulled out. So that's why the boats are coming up here. They're getting here as fast as they can, pulling people out of the water, making their radio calls as they pull up. I'll move over here again and show you. This is where everything is centered from. You see all the boats are now out here. There's Tampa Fire Rescue's boat. They're moving their way out here.
So Paul, from my understanding, this is a required exercise that has to happen every 3 years or so, and it involves units in the water and on land. Is everything happening so far in the water right now, from what you can see?
Yeah, from what we can see, everything is in the water. I'll pull out wide and show you. This again is just south of the Gandy Bridge. What they'll do is they do have triage set up on the land at the Gandy boat ramp, because when events like this happen, you do have to get out into the water to rescue the people, but then you want to bring them back to triage them. And in this area, the easiest ways to get, there's an area over by Picnic Island they can take them to, and again, over by the boat ramp on Gandy, because you want to have easy access in a place. Once you get the people up onto shore, you can get the ambulance in and take them to area hospitals if needed. So again, in this area, the few boat ramps that are near here that they could utilize are at Picnic Island, which is to the left of here, over to this area, just on the other side of that plant. And then over this way is the Gandy boat ramp, and that's back by the bridge. And so right now the exercise is happening in the water as we speak. Eventually it will shift to land. You can see there are more people in the water. This Tampa Fire Rescue boat is heading over to those people in the water. And sorry about the focus, I'm on extra 2X. They have us back pretty far because this is also two reasons. We're right near MacDill Air Force Base with an open runway, as well as Tampa International with an open runway. And this is happening as we speak. And here you can see them pulling people out of the water.
And Paul, I know
and
that
again,
these are all
this is how it would happen.
the volunteers that are participating in this emergency drill. And Amanda, I would believe that the water temperature for these volunteers not too shabby for October. So if you're joining us from elsewhere in the U.S. or elsewhere in the world, Amanda, I would imagine that the water temperature here is probably in the 70s or 80s, somewhere in there.
We're sitting about 80, 81, 82 degrees right now in the bay, which, is not the coolest it could be. So that's good news for these volunteers who have to kind of hang out. Luckily, they're swimming and moving, so they're probably not sitting around just getting cold. But, it could be worse.
So, Paul, the conditions out there right now must be pretty optimal, I would imagine, for a drill of this size. I mean, we're talking about more than 100 volunteers participating in this mass casualty emergency water rescue drill right here in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, the neat thing is these are conditions that you would normally face in Tampa, However, a lot of times when there are incidents, it's because of the weather. So even though it's a nice day today, they do sometimes like to prepare and train in inclement weather because that way gives them another set of circumstances. This is best case scenario. If you need to go into the water, it's a lot easier when the water's like this. It's not too choppy at all. There is a little bit of waves to it, but it's not bad at all. The temperature's warm. It's warm outside. It's warm in the water. Now, if you flash back to 2009 with the Miracle on the Hudson, when they landed the plane in the Hudson River, that was completely different. It was cold. It was a tough event because the plane landed. They had to exit into the water, and crews had to then converge on that area. And in that case, they took them to separate sides of the Hudson, so they had multiple scenes. So to get a track on the amount of passengers was difficult as well. These are all things that they take into account when they do these training exercises, because it's easy to make a training exercise and do everything by the book. But when it's real life, you need to think and do things outside of the box. And that's why training events like this are so important, because it helps you learn and gives you things that might not have went well, or you see things that happen and you say, you know what, if we do it this way, that might make it easier. And again, we are about a mile, maybe 2 miles south of the Gandy Bridge, over just south of the Gandy Bridge, over near MacDill Air Force Base. And this is the bulk of the training. Again, the weather is very nice. You see all the different agencies out here. Again, I'll run down them. Again, this is a drill. I want to keep reminding you. Tampa Fire Rescue, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, U.S. Coast Guard, Tampa Police, Tampa Fire Rescue. They're all out here with the U.S. Coast Guard doing this. Tampa Police helicopter is above us. There's supposed to be a Coast Guard helicopter above us, but we haven't seen that one yet. But again, the drill is continuing, and they are moving people and getting them out of the water. Here they go again. More people in the water. And again, in a real-life event, this is what you're going to find. It's not going to be one time get everybody out. It's going to be different people in different areas because of the currents, because of where the plane may have went down, how the people may have gotten out. There's all different things happening. So you're watching this as they pull them out of the water as we speak.
One of the things I was noting here, too, it's hard to see specifically, but it would appear that most, if not all of them, are wearing life vests. I know that in an emergency situation, you might have some passengers in a mass casualty incident that are able to secure life vests over them, and sometimes where you might have some passengers that are ejected from the aircraft that do not have a life vest on them. So I don't know if you've been able to observe whether or not everyone is out there wearing life vests.
Yeah, in this case, everyone does have life jackets on, because this, again, is a controlled environment. You don't want to take any risks of putting somebody in the water without a life vest. And when you're out here, you can see the swells are rolling through a little bit, so it is tough. And a lot of these people are wearing full clothes and shoes. And if you've never been in the water with full clothes and shoes, it makes it harder. When I was a lifeguard, I had to do lifeguard training. And one exercise, you would go in all your clothes and shoes, and it makes it a lot harder. It's heavier to swim. It's harder to swim. You don't get the same buoyancy. And so that's what's going on now. So everybody does have life jackets. But in the real world, if you're wearing the airplane life vest, it might not expand as much, and it's not quite as good. So, yeah, this is a little more controlled. So they're trying to do safety first.
Course, makes all the sense in the world. Everybody joining us here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and WFLA's Facebook page. Greetings to you. It's JB Buno, Amanda Holly, and Chief Photographer Paul Lamson, who is live for us in Eagle 8 HD above this water exercise that is taking place, an emergency drill of a mass casualty water rescue. They are trying to replicate similar characteristics of the 2009 Miracle on the Hudson, when the final approach, or when they actually had to make a emergency water landing there in the New York City area. And we're seeing a lot of different boats here on the water, the U.S. Coast Guard there, a lot of different agencies participating in this event, and also participating in this drill. More than 100 volunteers many of them that are wearing life vests, as we were just talking about, that are in open water, simulating what it would be like to be rescued in open water. in the event that a plane were to have an emergency in the Tampa Bay area and go down in the water. Paul, I know that we're going to be losing you here for just a few minutes because I know you're getting ready for our 11 a.m. newscast here on News Channel 8. And for everybody watching on Facebook, on our app, or on our website, you can tune into our 11 a.m. newscast here for more coverage as well as the rest of the happenings across Tampa Bay and across the United States today. But Paul, before we lose you here, I know that this is a large effort. I mean, this is not something that is put together just, in a couple of days. This is a large-scale effort, again, including airport operations, Tampa Fire Rescue, and the U.S. Coast Guard, and we're seeing it all play out live here from your camera.
Hey, Linda, I don't have IFB now.
So everybody, we have now transitioned Paul back to our television transmitter here, so we may just hear spurts of information from him. But again, we're going to come here to us live here in the Stream Center. JB Buno and Amanda Holly here with you. Amanda, boating a huge part of your life. This is an enormous effort to see this. This is to see so many different agencies represented on the water for people to get that real-world training, or basically a simulated replica of real-world training in the event something tragic were to happen in the area of Tampa International Airport.
Yeah, I hear it now. It cut off when you talked.
Hopefully, we don't ever have to put anything like this into actual play. But just earlier this year, if you think back to, I think it was around May, up in Jacksonville, a plane slid off the runway. I believe it was from a Navy base up there. But they had to do something similar, a little bit of a water rescue. Everybody was okay. So that was something a little more recent compared to the 2009 incident in New York. But this is, I think, a good thing for our folks and our rescue teams around here.
Yeah, and there are a lot of folks in the WFLA Facebook Live comment section that are talking just about how great it is to see our local emergency agencies practicing for the worst possible day, for something terrible to happen with an aircraft here in Tampa airspace. A lot of folks like Jean, Sharon, Emily, Kieran, Joseph, Mary, many of you who are commenting here and are very glad to see something like this. Again, they are trying to replicate certain different characteristics from the 2009 Miracle on the Hudson. If I remember correctly, Amanda, that was when a plane suffered an inadvertent bird strike. Of course, when birds went in through the engine and had to make an emergency landing on the water. Miracle being the key word in Miracle on the Hudson because of the life-saving efforts of the pilot in that case. And again, now Tampa Airport emergency officials preparing for a similar scenario. If that were to happen in Tampa Bay, what would an emergency response look like? Well, you're actually looking at it here live from Eagle 8 HD, everybody, as different agencies are out on the water and practicing what they would do in the event that we had passengers from a distressed aircraft just dispersed throughout Tampa Bay. And we're looking here at some of the rescue efforts as Paul gets ready for our 11 a.m. newscast here. He's zooming in. On the right side of your screen, you can see that there are people that are still floating in the water. They're wearing their life vests. Of course, safety first with an emergency drill like this. But it is fascinating to see there. I think that's the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office with their vessel, with their boat there out on the water. But to practice for something this large scale, it is so important, and it's great to see that all of our agencies are working in collaboration for something this large.
Over 30 agencies, not just on the water. Obviously, the first part is the water, but then they're going to take this to the land, as Paul was kind of explaining earlier, that they have triage setups on land for bringing the victims to land after they pull them from the water. So a very large-scale event here going on. Not sure the time frame of this exercise, but it does look like conditions are nice, which is good for those folks that are volunteering to jump in the water and be rescued at this point.
I'm trying to do a count here of just how many boats we have in the water, but it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 10, if not more. Again, we're only looking here through the lens of Paul's camera on Eagle 8 HD. But let's listen into Paul's report. Paul might not be delivering a report in this section of our newscast, but we're just going to listen in for a second just to see if he is preparing to deliver that live report here
You're
on
welcome.
News Channel 8. And no, actually, okay, so I think he's going to be going live for us in another section of our broadcast. Let's see if we can actually bring Paul back in. Hey, Paul, I think you're still there with us.
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry about that, JB. They had to take us live on the newscast. Again, more boats are still coming out. This is still going on. They are also now starting to take some of the patients they rescued into the shore, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But here comes one of the other police boats out, and again, they're all responding. And they do this in different sections because in the real world, they are all not going to be here all at once. And again, in the real world, all the boats aren't already going to be in the water in the general area. So they're trying to prepare this and make this as real life as possible. We've seen several boats out here, more boats coming, more boats going. And so this is still going on. We've seen several people in the water. There's a main Coast Guard boat. They're out there just really keeping an eye on everything. They've been out there for a while. There's also other boats in here. You see all the boats out here now again, right near. This is where the general population is. There's more people in the water right here. A couple people swimming over to the boat right there. And they're pulling them up into the boat. We've seen several people in the water and people now starting to go in for triage on land, and we'll go over and show you that in a little bit.
Oh, one of the things I was just wondering as we saw that police boat kind of racing in a real life scenario, if this were to happen where we have a mass number of casualties or a lot of people in distress in the water in Tampa Bay from an aircraft that went down, I would imagine that you would have to tread very carefully in Tampa Bay waters in the event that you don't hit somebody that you just don't see from where you are on your boat, and if you're traveling at a high rate of speed. I would imagine that you would have to tread pretty carefully in these waters to make sure that you don't hit anybody because people could be dispersed over a large geographical area of the bay.
Yeah, JB, what would happen, and this again is all just training, but when, like on the Miracle of the Hudson and that, to use that as an example, because that's what they're patterning this on. The first boats to the scene were not law enforcement boats. They were general public. They were different tours that go up and down the Hudson River. A helicopter that was doing tours happened to see the helicopter or the plane land in the water and made the initial radio calls. So what's going to happen is you're going to rely, hopefully, on the general public and being good Samaritans to come over, make the initial calls, to point out to the law enforcement boats where the people are. So yeah, again, it's going to be tough because they're not all going to be in one area. And in this training exercise, they're all pretty much aware where the people are going to be. You can see them just jumping off the boat right now into the water. So there'll be more people that need to get rescued. And they do want to do this to show that even though you think you have everybody, until you count the number of people on the plane, you're really not sure what's going on. And when you have multiple people out here getting people out, it's tough to keep track of who's still out there. So again, that's why these drills go so long, because they want them to know that it's not going to happen all at once. It's not going to be textbook. It's not going to be, okay, you go to this spot in the water and pick up everybody, depending on the current, depending on the way the plane might make the landing into the water, depending if people jumped out early, if people stayed on. It's a tough situation. So just practicing these, all this does is gives you different ideas and different thought process of how you did this and what worked, what didn't work. And now the drill is not just the drill. Then they go back. First they plan how they're going to do it. They do the drill, then they go back and dissect it, figure out what worked, what didn't work, what they need to change, what they need to do, and all of this is all for training. Hopefully they'll never have to use these skills, but if they have to, they want to be prepared and make sure they have the best chances to rescue everybody involved, because again, when these happen, you don't know when they're going to happen and you don't know where the people are going to be. So that's why the drills are good, but they never replace real life.
That's true, Paul, and obviously we're talking about a situation during the day right now as well, and we could be talking about a situation at night in real life. So everything that they talk about that goes into the planning of this is very important, and the debrief that you were just talking about is just as important as well, to talk about what went well and what didn't go well. Obviously, every aspect is being recorded at this point and kind of watched, like you were just showing the Coast Guard earlier, that was kind of overview watching everything. Those guys are just as important as well.
Yeah, and we also have the Tampa Police helicopter is up overhead. In a real rescue attempt, the helicopter is a vital part, because when you're up above like we are, and we're far back because we don't want to interrupt their training, they're a very important part, because when you're flying above it, you can cover more land, you can point out where the people are, you're almost the point person. And a lot of these helicopters, you can have divers from them as well, like the Coast Guard helicopters will hover down, feed off the water, and send divers in. So and they can also go above it and shine lights on them. So if it is at night, the Coast Guard helicopter and the Tampa Police helicopter, the Sheriff's helicopter, would all play a key role in this as well. So that's why it's on so many levels, it's important to train. And everything they do here is not going to work the same in real life. But again, just to do it, just to be able to get in the water, to know even how to get somebody and pull them up onto the boat, because that's different than somebody climbing onto the boat. And a lot of these people, when an event like this happens, the people in the water are calm because they know they're getting rescued. When you're in an actual emergency, you're panicked, and that's the scary part, because they teach you when you're a lifeguard, you never go up to the person. You always row, throw, and go. Go and rescue them is your last option. The first thing you want to throw a life jacket to them, an inner tube to them, and pull them in. The next one you want to reach, throw, row, and go. So jumping in to save them is the last-ditch effort. So a lot of times you see the boats come up, offer them like a rope, something to pull them onto shore, because when these people are panicked, they want to stay above the water and they think getting on a person might save them. So again, these are all important training ways to do this when you're out here in the water doing these training exercises. And here's more people in the water.
For those of you joining us on WFLA's Facebook page, greetings to you. It is 11:08 Eastern Time as we are monitoring this emergency drill of a mass casualty water rescue in Tampa Bay, being coordinated with a lot of different agencies here. This is being at the center of it, of course, is Tampa International Airport. We are live here with Chief Photographer Paul Lamison and Eagle 8 HD hovering over Tampa Bay. I'm JB Buno here with Amanda Holly. We are going to be ending our stream here on Facebook, but we're going to be continuing our stream on WFLA's app and WFLA.com. So if you're on Facebook with us here, we're going to be ending the stream here on Facebook, but our coverage continues on the app and on WFLA.com. So for everybody on Facebook, thanks for being with us, and more coverage to come, more live coverage to come here on WFLA Now. And for those of you that are on the WFLA app and WFLA.com, JB Buno, Amanda Holly, Paul Lamison here with you live. And we're looking at the boat ramp here now, Paul, aren't we?
Yeah, this is a boat ramp. This is where they would bring their casualties in. Again, this is a boat ramp just off Gandy Boulevard. You see the emergency rescue crews up here, and would be just how an event would happen. The emergency crews, the fire trucks, the ambulances, all the key personnel will be here on the ground. This is where they'll run the events from. So that's what you see now. You see all the people, the fire trucks. They would bring the people in with boats. We'll watch when they bring one in and watch them do their trauma stuff as they come in. You see the boats making their way in through the channel into the Gandy boat ramp, and they'll bring them up here. And this is where they'd have fire rescue people waiting. You see the victims on the ground. And again, I want to remind you, this is a drill for people tuning in going, wait, what's going on? This is a drill, this is training, this is preparation. They do this, but again, this is an important part of training, the real life scenario that you really have to do things, you really have to find people, and so that's why this is so important. But again, we're over the Gandy boat ramp now, where they're bringing people in as we speak. Here comes
Paul,
some of the
it
boats
seems like
now.
there's a lot. We have a lot of boats that are now in this rotation, going out into the bay, coming to the boat ramp. It might be several dozen boats, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, based on what you're seeing there from Eagle 8.
Yeah, there's a lot of boats, and you have to remember a lot of these agencies: Tampa Police, Tampa Fire Rescue, Hillsborough Sheriff, Hillsborough Fire Rescue, the Florida Fish and Wildlife, Coast Guard. They all have boats because the Tampa Bay area is all in the water. And in an event like this, they will respond, all the boats, depending on the emergency. They all might not be here at one time, but in this case they are. So there's several boats out here, several agencies, all involved in this training exercise. And you can see them bringing them in. There's a Coast Guard boat coming in with some people on board. And again, this is what they do. They bring them in, they come up, that's Safety Harbor Fire Rescue. Sorry, I thought that was Coast Guard. But again, they'll bring them into the boat ramp. That's what they're doing. They're working on this training exercise. You see the people down here? This is all part of the drill. And then they'll come do triage. They'll figure out what's wrong. And again, in events like this, you're also relying on the general public because people are here on scene. If an event happened again at this bridge or boat ramp, people are going to be out in the water enjoying it or out at the boat ramp, so they come into action too and can pass along vital information to the fire rescue, to the police, to the first responders that come out to the area. You see right here, they're pulling this first responder in the orange vest over to the area, explaining to them what happened, because again, that's going to be a vital part, because as a first responder, you're not going to see everything, but you need to then figure out how to best treat the people, and so you rely on the general public. So this is a good event where you get to just practice and do things that normally you don't get time to practice, but again, the training is valuable to these first responders on the ground in this area.
Everybody, Chief Photographer Paul Lamison, live for us in Eagle 8 HD. Amanda Holly and myself, we have to step away here from the Stream Center for a little while. We're going to be leaving up this signal for you here on the WFLA app and on WFLA.com. Hey, Paul, feel free to chime in whenever you'd like to, but we're going to just kind of leave up this signal for our viewers on our app and on our website. For those of you tuning in to watch the Tampa Airport emergency drill of a mass casualty water rescue right here in Tampa Bay. Paul, appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Take it easy, JB. And again, thank you for tuning in. We'll be up here for a little bit longer. We have a little bit more fuel. But again, we're over the Gandy boat ramp. This is where it's happening. Boats are coming in, going. Again, this is a good training exercise just to get people, even just to get the boats out in the water, to practice driving them, practice pulling people into them. It's a great opportunity for these first responders. And here you go, different boats from all over. There's Eckerd College Rescue 5. They're out here. I believe there's 30 different agencies out here taking part of this. Everybody from around the Bay helping, trying to figure out what to do, because in an event like this, in a big mass casualty, you're going to need a lot of people out here. You have your mobile command trucks down here. TECO's mobile command unit is here. Mass casualty trailer is out here from, that looks like Tampa Fire Rescue. They have different triage centers set up. That's what these are. And an event like this, they would really have these. They have triage areas set up. They come, they get everything going. Tampa Fire Rescue trucks on the ground. Hillsborough County Fire Rescue on the ground as well. And I'll show you where it's happening out in the water. There's how they're going to get to it, and the actual event is out here. And they're still sending boats in and out, bringing people in, taking people out. Again, this is a training exercise only. This is a mass casualty drill. I want to alert you, this is a drill. It's not really happening. This is all for training.